The story of Samuel from the Bible. Samuel held the roles of a prophet, a priest, and the last judge of Israel, and is chiefly known as the man who anointed both King Saul and King David. 1. The miraculous birth and dedication. The prayer of Hannah. Samuel's story begins with his parents, Elkanah and Hannah, who lived in Ramah. Elkanah had 2 wives, Peninnah, who bore him children, and Hannah, who was barren, leading to constant distress and taunting. Year after year, the family traveled to the tabernacle at Shiloh to worship. During one visit, Hannah poured out her soul in prayer to God, vowing that if God would give her a son, she would dedicate him to the Lord for his entire life, and no razor would ever touch his head, a Nazirite vow. The priest Eli, observing her intense, silent prayer, initially mistook her for being drunk, but after she explained her sorrow, he blessed her and asked God to grant her request. God answered Hannah's prayer, and she bore a son whom she named Samuel, meaning heard of God or asked of God. Dedication to God, true to her vow. After Samuel was weaned, likely between the ages of 2 and 5, Hannah brought him to Shiloh and presented him to Eli the priest, dedicating the boy to serve in the tabernacle for his entire life. Hannah then offered a famous prayer of thanksgiving known as Hannah's Song. 2. The divine calling. While serving under Eli, who had corrupt sons that dishonored the priesthood, the boy Samuel received his prophetic calling. Speak, for your servant is listening. One night while Samuel was sleeping, the Lord called his name. Thinking it was Eli, Samuel ran to the old priest. After this happened 3 times, Eli finally realized that God was speaking directly to the boy. Eli instructed Samuel that the next time he heard the voice, he should respond, "Speak, for your servant is listening." 1 Samuel 3:10. God then spoke to Samuel and delivered a message of severe judgment against Eli's household due to the wickedness of his sons and Eli's failure to restrain them. Though Samuel was afraid, he faithfully relayed the entire harsh message to Eli. From this time onward, Samuel was established throughout Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, as a trustworthy prophet of the Lord. Judge and transition to monarchy. Samuel grew up to become a righteous leader, judging the people of Israel by traveling in a circuit to various cities. The people demand a king. As Samuel grew old, he appointed his own sons as judges, but they proved to be corrupt, accepting bribes and perverting justice. Because of this, the elders of Israel approached Samuel and demanded, "Appoint for us a king to govern us like all the nations." 1 Samuel 8:5. This request displeased Samuel, as he believed God should be Israel's only king. God reassured Samuel that the people were not rejecting him, but were rejecting God's rule over them. God instructed Samuel to grant their request, but first to warn them of the heavy taxes, mandatory military service, and potential tyranny that a human king would bring. Anointing of the king Samuel then ushered in Israel's monarchy by anointing 2 men at God's command. Saul. Samuel secretly anointed Saul, a tall Benjamite, as the first king of Israel. However, Saul soon proved to be disobedient to God's commands, culminating in his failure to completely destroy the Amalekites as instructed. Samuel delivered God's verdict to Saul: to obey is better than sacrifice. 1 Samuel 15:22, and declared that God had rejected Saul as king. David. While Saul was still king, God sent Samuel to the house of Jesse in Bethlehem to anoint a new king. Samuel was initially impressed by Jesse's older, taller sons, but God instructed him to look past their physical appearance. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. Samuel then anointed Jesse's youngest son, the shepherd boy David, as the future king of Israel. Samuel passed away while David was still an outlaw, being relentlessly pursued by King Saul. His death was mourned by all Israel. However, his story continues when King Saul, desperate before a final battle, consults a medium, the Witch of Endor, who summons the spirit of Samuel to deliver a final prophecy of doom against Saul.